What's going on, everybody, and welcome to It's Actually Easy. This video marks the first in a series of videos where I'm going to break down programming into its basic parts, and you are going to learn how to code in Python. And the best thing about it is all you'll need is either a phone or a tablet. In this video, we're going to be going over variables. What the heck are they? How do you use them? And by the end of it, you'll have a pretty simple program that you might even find useful in your own life. Alright, so to get started, you want to download an app from the App Store or the Google Play Store that'll let you write code. If you're on iOS like I am, downloading Python Programming Interpreter is going to be a pretty good bet. Otherwise, if you're on Android, getting PyDroid 3 will get you going in the right direction. There are a lot of options out there, so if you do find an app that you like better, you are absolutely welcome to use it. Okay, so once we have one of these apps downloaded, what we're going to want to do is open it, and you'll probably see something like this. Pretty much just ignore it. What we're going to want to do is start with a blank canvas. So what I'll do is I'll press the folder icon near the top middle. I'm going to click on open, and now I want to create a new project, so to speak. So I'll click on this page with a plus icon near the top right. Now I want to rename this project to something that's more meaningful to me. So what I'm going to name it is variables.py. I'm going to press OK, and now we're ready to get started. So as we know, we're going to take a closer look at variables. And before I break it down in a more simplified way, let's see what Google has to say when we ask the question, what are variables in programming? So the first result that we get is, in programming, a variable is a value that can change depending on conditions or on information passed to the program. That's only slightly impossible to understand if you have no knowledge of this stuff. So let's break it down in a way that a normal person could actually understand this. Alright, so imagine you're doing some sort of math problem on a calculator, and the first number that you get needs to be used later on for a different calculation. You might turn to your friend next to you and say, hey, can you remember the number 247? Your friend of course says yes, and you continue on doing your math problem. You get to a point where you need to subtract your original number from a new number you just calculated. So you turn to your friend and you say, hey, what was that number I told you to remember? Your friend of course says 247, and now you have that number to use in that calculation. Your friend in this case is arguably acting like a variable because you've told them to remember a value so you can use it later on. In programming, that's really what we're doing. We're telling variables to represent certain values so we can use them later on in our program to do a variety of things. So this leads us back to the app that we downloaded, and what we'll do is we're going to write a simple program that might help plan a monthly budget so we can better understand what variables look like and how do we use them. Alright, so since this is a monthly budget program, we're probably going to want to start with income. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the word income. I'm going to put an equal sign. Let's say we make about $3,000 a month. So what we'll do is now type the number 3,000. I'm going to stop here because we just successfully created our first variable. The word income is the variable. It's something that we created that now represents the value 3,000. It's just like a math class when you would see x equals 2. X is the variable and it's equal to the number 2. So whenever you're doing a math problem that has the letter x, you pretty much visualize the number 2 in that place. In our program, it's the same concept. Income is now equal to 3,000. So anytime we write or see the word income in our program, it's basically going to represent 3,000. So now that we have our income represented in our program, we're also going to want to include expenses. So I'm going to go to a new line, and I'm going to type the word rent. So this is a new variable. It's going to be called rent. So let's type rent, and let's say that's equal to about $1,500. So let's say that our next expense is food and entertainment. So let's go to a new line and type food and entertainment. And let's just say that's approximately going to be $600 this month. Now when I run this code, it's actually going to fail. So let's run it by clicking on the play icon near the top right. And you'll see we get this strange message. It says syntax error, can't assign to operator. To a normal person, that's like, what the heck is that? That doesn't even make sense to me. Really what this is telling you is Python just doesn't understand what you're trying to do. Luckily, we do get an indication of where this problem is. So you can see in that very first line of text, it says file compiler.py line 3. So the problem in our program is happening around line 3. So let's go back to the source code and see what the issue is. So looking at the source code on our program, we can see that line 3 is the food and entertainment variable that we're trying to create. The problem with this is variables can't have spaces. They need to be a single word. So in order to fix this, what we'll do is we're going to remove the spaces. So we'll remove the space after and. I'm going to capitalize and just for fun. I'm going to remove the space after the word food. Now if we run this code, it actually will work because we properly created the variable food and entertainment. So let's say our last expense is going to be our savings, and our goal is about 15% of our income every single month. So what we'll do is go to a new line and type the word savings. We're going to put this equal to income and multiply that by 0.15. So we're taking the variable income, which we know represents the number 3,000, and we're multiplying it by 0.15 to get 15% of our income allocated to that savings variable that we're now creating. So let's say that the goal of this program is to tell us how much money we have left over after all of our expenses. What we're going to want to do is we want to create a leftover variable. So let's go to a new line, let's type the word leftover, and the cool thing about this now is we can use the other variables that we've created to calculate what that leftover amount's going to be. So let's type income minus rent minus food and entertainment minus our savings. So now the variable leftover is going to represent the result of income minus rent minus food and entertainment and minus our savings. What I'm about to do is a preview into some concepts that I'll be covering in later videos, so don't worry if you aren't getting it right away. So to make this program display a message that tells us how much money we have left over after expenses, what we can do is I'm going to go to a new line and I'm going to write the word print, and I want to make sure I have opening and closing parentheses. So basically anything that I type within these two parentheses is what's going to be displayed as a message on screen. So to make this work, we have to start with two single quotes, and then I'm going to write dollar amount remaining. I'll do a colon and a space. And now we want to insert our leftover variable to display the number that we do have left over after all of our expenses. In order to achieve this, I'm going to do some fancy programming stuff, and remember, you don't really have to know what's going on right now. I'm going to cover it all in a different video. So what I'll do is I'm going to type a plus sign. I'm going to also type str, do an open parenthesis, and now I'm going to type our leftover variable. So I'll type leftover, I'm going to do a closing parenthesis, and if you're kind of curious what's going on here, I'm actually converting the variable leftover into a word, and in fancy programming speak, this is actually called casting. So once you have what I do on screen, if we run this code, you'll see that we finally get our message and it says dollar amount remaining $450. Now you might be thinking, holy cow, this is super sweet. Because I remember when I first did this stuff, my mind was blown that I actually got a program to work. But you also might be asking yourself, what are variables really doing for me? So let's go back to the source, and let's say, for example, maybe you got a raise, you're doing great in your job, and now instead of your income being $3,000, it's $3,500. So let's go up to our income variable and update it to $3,500. And this is particularly valuable because now, instead of having to go throughout your program and writing the number $3,500 everywhere you need it, the income variable is going to do that work for you. So now if we run this program, you'll see the new message is dollar amount remaining $875. Let's walk through another example. I'll go back to the source, and let's say in this case, maybe you want a higher food and entertainment budget. So we'll go down to my food and entertainment variable, and let's say we're just big spenders this month and we want to spend $1,000 on food and entertainment. I'm going to run this code again, and now you'll see the new message is dollar amount remaining $475. Super cool, right? Let's go back to the source one more time, and maybe we want to create another variable. There's another category that we want to take out of this budget. So for example, now I'm going to write travel, and maybe travel every single month, let's just say that equals $200. Now I want to go back to our leftover variable and just subtract our new travel variable, and you'll see when we run this code, everything gets updated and the new amount remaining is $275. This brings us to the end of the video. There's certainly a lot more we can do with this program, so if you want us to continue working on it, leave a comment down below. Otherwise, feel free to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video.